Mama, mama,
Please stop. Welcome to the Mother Lords. Today we have with us Stephanie Holt. She's the expert of AI at DSB International School, the director of teaching and learning here at DSB International School. Thank you so much, Stephanie, for taking the time out. I know the DSB Symposium is a busy time for you.
Yes, busy.
So we really do appreciate you taking the time out. I'm going to jump right into the questions. Tell us what first made you curious about learning and thinking, and just what got that curiosity?
Well, for that, I was, you have to go right back to me being a very, very little girl. I was one of those children who, when my parents gave me a toy, I instantly dismantled it because I wanted to know how it was put together. I didn't play with toys, almost in the way that you were supposed to. I broke them and then fixed them and refixed them because all I wanted to do was know. And I still think I'm the same now. My dad certainly says so.
That's great. Okay. And obviously, a lot of your talks are going to be about artificial intelligence and incorporating that into the way children learn or the way teachers are teaching in the classroom. So as a parent, right, if my child is using AI to write an essay, how can I then distinguish between the way my child is thinking or they're just using AI to do the work for them?
Oh, that's many different questions rolled into one. And I think a lot of this depends on intentionality, agency, and how old the child is as well, because there is a great big difference between work which has been intended to be co-produced with AI. And so, for instance, we use a traffic light system, which is, for instance, it's red light if it's coursework, if it's IB work, IAs. We go with the rules of the IB and with IGCSE, and and the students are taught that if it's a red light, absolutely no AI usage.
Got it.
They're also taught that if it's an amber light, then they can use AI to do research, because AI and Google, there's not very much difference in that. They do the same job, and how to structure, but they still don't use AI to write. And then green is co-creation, have some fun. You're allowed to use AI for whatever you want. And by keeping it as open as possible, we talk a lot about ethics. So I teach the Key Stage 3 children. So Key Stage 3 is the 11-year-olds, the 12-year-olds, the 13-year-olds. And I teach those children ethics first, and ethics is all. So we do it from the point of view that they need to understand what it is that they're doing and what they're using AI for, and if AI is the correct tool at that point in time. So that's consideration to one side. Now, in terms of knowing whether they're thinking, that's an entirely different question. Because sometimes, it's like asking to see inside a child's head.
Right.
Now, there are two different things here again, because if a child is just regurgitating knowledge that they have learnt from the teacher and the teacher's just told them, that's just the same as getting AI to write it.
True.
They're still not thinking.
True.
And that's what I was talking about this morning, is that is performing learning. That's not actually doing learning. What we're aiming to do, and we put in metacognition first for an entire year, and everything that we do is based on a foundation of metacognition. And metacognition is one of those fancy educational terms, and all it means is, doesn't a child understand the thinking about their thinking? Do they understand the processes that they are using? And that can be as simple as, if they've got a maths question or an essay question that they're finding hard, do they know the strategies of what to do, of how to write that essay, how to do that maths question? Do they know where to go to? Do they know how to make it easier for themselves? It's not just about going straight to the teacher and saying, "Teacher, I can't do it." It's about saying, no, I can help myself with agency by perhaps getting AI to explain it to me in a way that I understand, or using Google or using YouTube. It doesn't matter what it is. And it's also about, pausing throughout the process of writing that essay to do little snapshots of their thinking at that time. And the best way to do that is to get them to talk about it. Way back when, it was Plato who complained when writing was invented, it was cuneiform. And he said, writing is going to be the death of all thinking and memory. And he said that centuries ago. And every time we have a new invention, whether it be a calculator, a computer, a phone,
Right.
we always say, oh, it's the death of learning as we know it. No, it isn't. It's just going to transform what the learning is. The calculator's made it so that we can do harder, calculations. The computer, the home computer, has brought us the internet and the ease of referencing and the ease of being able to find resourcing. And AI will change it in ways that we don't yet perhaps know. But I think what it will do is make the internal thoughts external. And that's really exciting. Being able to teach the children to articulate what they're doing with AI is far more important than the product that they produce with AI.
Got it. Okay, so it's the process.
Yes,
Really.
yes,
That's
very
the
much so.
important bit.
So what do you think AI should be doing? I mean, how should it be used in a school?
Well, I mean, there are certain tools that we use within a school. So there's obviously the tools for teachers. So the tools for teachers are secretarial. They enable us to be more productive. There are certain tasks such as some marking of work. We actually have a system to support us, which is pedagogic. We use Toddle, and Toddle is very good, and its AI is very good and very focused on school. But even so, even if we're using AI to mark, it's still the human element, and all of us still comment as humans on normally the older students' work. But what it allows us to do and allows them to do is to mark in the moment, because sometimes as a teacher we are a little overburdened, and it can take maybe 2 to 3 weeks to get marking done, but by then the child's forgotten. Whereas if I can do it instantly, and sometimes I can in the class, I can do it instantly, they get instant feedback and they can work on it straight away. So it speeded that process of learning up and made it more relevant. The other way that teachers can use it is for lesson planning and resource making.
Right.
So, I mean, there's a fantastic platform from Google, which is Learn Notebook LM. And this is my very favourite. I use it in my PhD all the time. And I like it because I can control the content that is used. It's like making my own mini AI. And I love the fact that it produces fantastic videos, fantastic podcasts. And we know they're not human, but they're really useful for teaching. The kids can download the podcasts onto their phones, they can listen to it in the car on the way to school, and that has really transformed learning and the fact that they can interact with the podcasts, that is absolutely fantastic, and it's only based on what you've uploaded.
Right.
So that is by far the safest version, and the Google version for schools that we use it is compliant with European law, which is currently the gold standard in protecting our children. And we know that, and we have that safety, that by using those tools, our children are kept safe, their data is kept safe. So that's from a teaching perspective. From the children's perspective, one of the things I'm trying to get them to work out is whether they should use AI or whether they should use Google. Because and in the ethics, I also teach them about the economic cost of AI and what that's going to do to potentially to our economies and our workforces, and that is already happening.
Yes.
The fact that our kids are training for jobs that we have no clue what they will be is scary.
It's very scary.
But opportunistic, because what if the creative arts become more important than accountancy?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be amazing that our children get to do expressive work rather than maths? Which I know some kids like maths and are creative with maths, but the fact that potentially a child's creativity is valued as much as a skill, that's just fantastic. So there are opportunities there, but they are challenging for society because they're different, and we always fear change. But and the other way children can use AI is to support their learning. So, for example, my daughter's just passed the IB.
Yes.
She's going off to do English. She's like her mummy, and she's very happy doing that. But to pass the IB, she still had to do maths, and she's not very good at maths. She is like me. She loves her books. She loves her writing. and she found maths really difficult. So what she used AI to do was she got AI to break down the pieces of maths that she didn't understand and make it in a format so that she could understand. So what she did was she said, explain this to me as if I'm 5. And it gave her the basic concepts. Then she said, explain this to me as if I'm 12. And it layered it on the top.
Right.
Then explain it to me as if I'm 14. And then explain it to me like an IB student. So she layered her understanding on top. And she didn't have to feel stupid in class. She didn't have to put her hand up to say, no, I don't understand this. She did it for herself, and the agency that she had behind that, because she was making the choices, she was choosing her learning, transformed her from being quite miserable, quite upset, quite stressed, like, I can't do it, Mum, to, no, actually, I can do it.
Yes.
I've figured it out myself.
So it's really building that base, like you said, when they are in KS3, to having the agency to figure out how to use it as a tool for learning,
Yes.
rather than be your learner.
Yeah.
Which is great from a student's perspective, right? But I mean, obviously, there are schools now that are thinking or replacing teachers with AI. What are your thoughts on that?
They're interesting because there's obviously the Alpha School movement in America.
Yeah.
And at first, that looks amazing. 2 hours of teaching in the morning and then project work in the afternoon. Fabulous. However, if you've been reading the newspapers recently, you'll see that all is not quite golden there. They're still putting the same high pressure tactics on. They're still making children repeat work. They're still using the same playbook. That's not what it's really about. And AI can support learning and should support learning and will support learning, but only with the teacher's support. Because the teachers are still the pedagogists, and all the companies which are turning to AI, are taking out workflows and reproducing them with agents. They still need a person to oversee that's what's going on. And our children, if you look at Professor Hattie's work, the number one predictor of child success and child progress is still relationship with teacher. And I don't see that changing anytime soon. And what I absolutely do not want is, yes, AI can support children in rural environments, for instance, who haven't got access to as many things as a metropolitan child have, and reduce those inequalities. What would break my heart as an educator is if some children were privileged enough to have a human, and some students were underprivileged and got a robot, so to speak, or just AI. And I think we're the guardians of that, within our society, and we must make sure that doesn't happen.
Yes.
It's there to empower, not to disempower.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had this conversation.
Yeah, the gap in education with with AI.
I mean, I can see it where there's teacher shortages in particular, and we are missing 4 million teachers worldwide currently. That teacher shortage is getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yes.
Teacher shortages, costs. I mean, AI is going to change all of that.
It is.
And I think kids who don't have access are going to be the first ones to be hit.
Yeah, hugely disadvantaged. They already are at university. There's a study from Harvard, which is from 2023, let alone now. So 2 years ago, they did a study, and those students who could utilise AI did 25% better than their peers. That was when AI wasn't very good. So you can imagine if they repeated the very same study now.
Yeah.
How different would the results be?
It'd be huge.
Yeah.
It'd be huge. But universities are becoming much more flexible and engaged with this as well. So when I started my PhD only last year, I wasn't allowed to use AI. I wasn't allowed to use AI to co-create. I've just got it through ethics, because my point is that if I don't have AI to support my analysis, I as a single researcher can't do it.
Right.
And we put it through ethics. We've got it accepted. And so yes. AI can't write my thesis, my PhD for me, but it can certainly act as my team, the research team I haven't got.
Yes.
And make sure that the resource of time is used wisely, and I can use it not for the thinking, but for the supporting and the basic analysis. And then my time can come in when I'm looking at the interpretations of those and the impacts.
Correct.
That's excellent.
Yeah. And the universities are getting much more on board with this.
Yeah, a little more efficiently than how you would use Google, where you would get articles, then read
Yeah.
through all of them, then sort of assimilate everything, where AI has already maybe given you a basic structure.
Yeah.
Very much so. I mean, I reckon to do my literature review, which is still ongoing because the new literature is coming out all the time, but to do my literature review would normally take 2 to 3 years. I got my first draft together in 6 months because of Notebook LM.
Wow.
And that ability to sift the wheat from the chaff
Yes.
is so important, because before you'd have to do it manually. Now I can get AI to do it
Yep.
for me, but still retain the things that I need to look at in
Right.
much more depth.
Right. You spoke about jobs earlier, right?
Yeah.
And you spoke about us not really knowing what the jobs are going to be for our children in the future. So how are we preparing the children today for these unknown jobs?
And that's the problem, because our current systems do not.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, you know, if we are currently on knowledge-based system, and a knowledge-based system fit the last century, it does not fit now. Ours needs to move much more towards a skills-based system. That is why the IB is so good, in the fact that the skills go across and they go up. So we teach the children how to think, and we also teach the same skills which go across subjects, and we keep the subjects as broad as possible for as long as possible. You know, like, and I know that within the AI education world, out of the top of the 20 people that I know speak around the world and do workshops, there's 18 of us who are English teachers, only 2 tech heads. Because I don't need to understand coding to do AI. I need to understand language.
Right.
And that is a very, very different thing. And it's because as an English teacher, we understand the language, and we understand how to form the language, how to look at the prompts, and how to form good prompts, because we're used to telling 13-year-old boys how to do English and how Shakespeare works. So, and that's why the English teachers seem to have exploded on this scene. Now, the tech heads are great because they can explain why it works. I can't do that. I couldn't, I don't know that. I don't have that skill base or that knowledge base. But I can certainly, but it doesn't need the knowledge for me to be able to utilize AI. And that's pretty much the point, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like, I don't need to know precisely how AI works to be able to leverage AI to make the things that I do on a daily basis better.
Got it. Makes sense.
So you're saying AI is going to become more and more and more important every day.
Yeah, but so are human skills. And I think this is the key, is that yes, AI will transform, just like like a smartphone did. It's transformed our lives. Not necessarily for the better, because I'd like a holiday where people can't text me.
Do you feel it's going to get more and more intuitive?
Yeah. I also think, though, that I think our AI will become our guardians and say, no, you're on holiday. Take some chill time. Because, how many times are we on holiday and we get work calls?
Yep.
And it takes our minds
One
away.
email,
Yeah, exactly.
One message.
And that's been a bad thing of the development. But yeah, on my phone, I can book tickets. I can pretty much do everything on my phone in small that I can do on my laptop. And that's really, really freeing.
Yes.
We can track our children. We can do whatever. There's so much things. You can run a business off your phone.
It's literally a window to the world.
It is. And AI is going to do that. We don't quite know what the hangovers are going to be. We suspect it's probably going to be cognitive offloading. But cognitive offloading, so that's basically when you outsource your thinking. But we as humans do this anyway. Because if you think about it, I bet you, like me, are ruled by your calendar. My diary is my God.
Yeah.
I cannot work without my diary, especially, because in the last month, I've been in 6 different countries, spoken at 8 different conferences in 6 different countries. If I did not have that, I wouldn't be able to track my flights, my hotels, where I'm supposed to be, what time zone I'm supposed to be in, who I'm speaking to. It is my Bible. But that's me cognitive offloading. Me not having it in my head is cognitive offloading. I don't think me putting things in my diary is a bad thing.
Right.
I think it frees my mind up.
Yeah, it's a tool to just make you a little more efficient.
Precisely. And I think some cognitive offloading is not a bad thing.
Right.
When you do, if it's done instead of thinking, that's when it's a bad thing. But children do that anyway, and children, you know, within our tutoring system here in India, you know, are you telling me that children don't get tutors to do their work for them? Because I really don't believe it.
Yeah.
You know, we see it all the time. That's our cognitive offloading. This is just an electronic version of it. But what I would say is that AI is much, much, much more consistent than tutoring, because not all tutors are made equal.
Yes.
You know, here at DSB, we discourage tutors because they undo our work in the classroom. Because we don't teach traditionally, when they then go and get that traditional upload and dump, it ruins what we're doing in the classroom, because we're teaching them something very different, and to use it as process, not product. And when they then go to a product-focused tutor, ruins it. What I'm saying is that AI works with you in the process, so it is way better than and much more consistent, you know, to what you are doing at school, because it's how the child uses it to have agency.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. This is AI can produce that choice that quite a lot of our children don't get over their learning and their pathways.
But that seems like a teacher's burden to bear, to teach that sort of line.
Yeah, it is.
So glad it's not us.
But I think, you know, as parents as well, you know, because, you know, my children, 23, 18. So, you know, my children are the prime age for this. They're in the middle of the eye of the storm, where they're still in the traditional job market, but they know that they, you know, when they're 50, when they're the same age as me, they're not going to be in the same jobs potentially, although my teacher one, maybe. But so they're in that, and they're the ones who are going to help form this. But as parents, we need to talk it through. We need to talk through the AI usage. I'd say, how are you using AI at school? Have the conversation, because your kids will teach you too.
So what guardrails should parents be putting up?
Well, at home, one of the things I always say is, at home, if you have, for instance, a Google account, you can put it on a Google Parent account, and therefore you get the same benefits as the Google Education account. And I sound like a one-woman advert, but I'm not. But at the moment, right now, for children, the one with guardrails on is because of the parental things, it is Google. We also provide some AI within school, like for instance within Toddle, we can set Toddle tutors, and that is completely safe. But most of them now have, particularly because of the European laws, do have quite strict guardrails on. The situations that we found that happened before with, you know, with the advice, which was extremely poor and could be considered dangerous, all the companies now have put very, very strict guardrails on, and it will not do it.
Okay.
So
good to know.
yeah, it will not do it. I mean, you can try. I mean, kids are kids; they will try and break everything, and they will try and get around everything. But and the more that the guardrails come up, and the more that the companies are taking responsibility, the better. But you know, things like paid chat, as parents, yes, at university, not in school. Use what the school's provided. You know, and the so-called companions that everyone's worried about in the news at the moment, they are paid for. So if a parent doesn't provide the method of payment, then the child cannot get access.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think this is
I was just going to ask you that. Because what are your thoughts on because AI can talk to you
As a
kind
friend.
of like a person, kind of like a friend. So students using it as an emotional security, someone to talk to as a friend.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, for the older students, it can be useful, particularly when they are coming up for exam anxiety. So again, some of the work I'm doing with the university in the Emirates is we're looking at how children can use it to support themselves to self-regulate, particularly children with ADHD, because children with ADHD often get very, very overwhelmed. And one of the there are many symptoms, but one of the overwhelmed symptoms is that their head is going at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and they cannot focus and they cannot concentrate. With the older students in particular, what I've been working with one of my students with last year was she used to do a voice note and dump all of her spiraling thoughts into her AI, and then her AI would give advice, but it would give advice like, right, okay, take your shoes off, put your feet on the floor and ground. If that's not working for you, go off, wash your hands with cold water, go wash your face. take some deep breaths. So it started off calming her down, and then and then it would say things to her like, okay, what is the first priority? And it would then support her to work through her own anxieties and her own spiral and come out of the spiral and organise the things that she had to do at that moment, and say, you can put this and this off for another day because this is not critical. And we found, as a case study that we were working, it really did work for her. Now, I'm not saying this is working for every child, and that's why, we're doing some more study into it. Yeah. Because for older students, sometimes it does give them the agency, and it does give them that choice, and it does give them chance to pause, because and that is...
It can also go the other way, where someone can over-rely on a computer and not on...
Yes, but we all have phones.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not saying, yes, of course we can over-rely on things. Yes. But I think we're taking it as if we don't already over-rely on social media. We don't already over-rely on our phones. So again, it has to be done with consciousness, and it has to be done with thought. To say, during my exam period, I am going to use my AI to support me in this way.
Right.
However, after my exam period, I am going to put it away.
Right.
And have a digital detox. In fact, I did that to my daughter after her IB. I took her phone and her iPad off her and said, no, for a week, you are going to watch normal TV. You're not going to be on the phone for all, you can have it to speak to friends, for a couple of hours, but I don't want you to be on the phone. I want you to digitally detox, and I want you to come back to the world.
Yeah.
And that really did. And, you've just been so focused on that. I could see the stress levels in you. And she did mindful colouring. She did a lot of adult colouring. She did going swimming, going to the gym. What she didn't do was sit on her phone doom scrolling. So, and as parents, sometimes we have to step in and say, no, you are my child. Right. I'm now going to take your phone off you. Yes. And we can do the same with AI.
Yes. So essentially, yes, of course, the children can benefit a lot, but as a parent, you need to set some boundaries. As a teacher, you need to set some boundaries, teach them the ethics. Which is so important, I think, to give children that tool. That's really great. Not really talking only about artificial intelligence now, but if you could change one thing about the way children are learning today in schools, what would that be?
Oh, I would make it so much more active. But we've got ourselves trapped into a system where we think if the children are sat good writing, just writing, copying off the board, that is learning. I want kids to get messy. I want them to talk to each other. I want them to investigate. I want them to have fun. I want them to laugh. When kids are laughing, I can remember lessons from when I was 15, 16 really clearly because they were funny, and I can remember what we were learning about. I can remember the book we were doing, and they were just funny. And I can remember it clearly because my emotion associated with that is fun and joy and laughter. And learning is amazing. What we try and do by shoving children down these very, very narrow paths where all that matters and all we seem to judge them by is whether they get a 45 or whether they get an A star. That's not who they are as people. Yeah. That's just what they can regurgitate on that moment at that time. It doesn't tell us that they're lovely people who care for kittens, or that they've got really old souls, or that they're wonderful musicians, or that they write the most amazing stories, but their spelling's atrocious. But it doesn't matter because their stories are beautiful. Right. That's what I want to see is a lot more fun. I sometimes think when I see poor teaching, I see it's task-based teaching. If we've done page 22, 23 and 24 today, that's good teaching. It's not good teaching, it's poor teaching. Good teaching is when I know the kids and the kids know me and we work together and co-collaborate and I'm laughing at them and they're laughing at me and they're learning from me, I'm learning from them, and we're just learning together in this bubble where we're just riffing. And that, to me, learning should be a joy, not a closed system, a closed environment. It should be open, and it should be open to go down pathways that are unexpected and wonderful and creative and gorgeous.
That's
amazing.
Very beautifully said.
Sorry, but because you said that, and we had this question, and it ties in so well earlier with AI, but now because AI is making learning limitless,
yes.
Is there going to be a place for exams in the future? Because exams are more about performance learning, right?
Yes,
What
they
you learn
are.
is one.
What the universities are doing now is triangulating. So they are not relying on high stakes 6-hour exams anymore. That's gone. For some of the traditional subjects, yes. But, the best universities such as Cambridge, Oxford, they rely on Socratic seminars and always have done. And that's where the learning is co-created through talk. Then some universities are doing that, they'll triangulate by doing weekly pop quizzes. What have you retained? What's sticky from last week? What have you retained from last week? They're not high stakes, they're just there.
Yeah.
And they do a lot of project work and they do a lot of essay work where you provide drafts. Some universities are even asking to mark chats. So this is one of the things I do with my research is I mark children's chats. So I'm looking at their iteration and I'm looking at their questioning skills. And so are universities. So, and it becomes, it's not becoming one thing, it's one day, one thing equals the rest of your life.
Right.
No, it's becoming a multitude. And that really supports our kids who get nervous before exams, our kids who are dyslexic, our kids who are ADHD, our kids who are just not very good at memory, our stress kids, or the kids who have just had a breakup the day before from their partner of 4 years, all of these things affect performance on one day.
Yeah.
And yet we're expecting them to rest the rest of their lives on one day. And how dare we? How dare we take every other thing that they've done in school or at university and say, yeah, that's not important now. We're going to throw it away. What matters now and what we're going to judge you on and what society is going to judge you on is one day.
Yeah.
It's not how, can you imagine if we did that in our jobs? We're only judged on one result.
Right.
Yeah, that's
Break
not
your confidence.
Yeah.
It's not reality.
It's not reality. We all have good days and bad.
Yeah.
And one of the things I want children to be able to do is to fail and fail well. And what I mean by fail well is instead of it making it a disaster where they cry for 3 days, they can't do anything, they pick themselves back up, they laugh, move on and try again.
Yeah.
That is so much more healthy than this version of perfection that we have at the moment. Particularly as women, we are expected to be perfect at everything all of the time. And, I think AI, because of the quickness of the iteration and because you can change it instantly and you're not married to it, I think that's going to free up our girls who are suffering from the disease of perfectionism and us as women as well, because we can outsource some of our things.
Yeah,
That's excellent.
that's good. Yeah.
Last question to wrap it all up.
Okay.
What is the one thing that you would not want schools to change as time progresses?
Teachers. We still need people, as I said before, teachers are still the number one predictor of student success. Those teacher relationships are going to become more and more important, not less important. I've worked in many different schools, in many different systems, and I think the best system is where it's not quite so formal. It's more like a benevolent parent in a way in the classroom, and you have that relationship where you can learn off the child and vice versa, because that's where those relationships and that trust is formed. And if the trust is there, then children are less likely to rely on nefarious methods. I know that students will do the homework that I set them because they want to please me. I hear the children discuss an excellent from Miss Stephanie is a thing, because I don't very often give them. And
I had an English teacher like that
Yes.
in school, and the first time I got an A from her, I think I still have that because I treasured it.
exactly, because you wanted, and the fact that it came from that teacher, you were like,
Yes.
It meant
yes.
everything in that school year. That meant everything.
Yes.
Yeah, it means a lot, obviously. And it's only because you had that relationship with your teacher.
Yes, and there needs to be all sorts of different types of teachers and different types of personalities in a school as well. That's what makes schools such a vibrant community, because we are so different. You do need to have the strict ones. You do need to have the chill ones. You do need to have the funny ones. You do need to have the ones who are lickety-split and need it just so. because as our children, this is a model, it's like a baby model of society within a school system. And it trains our kids to be able to deal with different people's different expectations and work with each other. And they also learn that there are different role models within school who work for them. You know, and it sounds weird, but it's okay for a child not to like a teacher. That's okay too. We don't have to like everybody, but we do have to work with everybody.
Yes.
You know, and sometimes I think, you know, within society, when we don't like somebody, we won't work with them. We want to punish them. We're not going to speak to them. You know, we're going to ostracize them. And what I'm saying is that it's okay to not like people, but that's cool because they're not your person, but that person is. And, you know, they work with you, and that's how society is. We just all have to work together, even if we don't like each other.
Yes.
And I think that's such a massive skill.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much today.
Pleasure.
This has been extremely insightful. I think as parents...
I love hearing everything.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No, it's strange, you know, as a parent, I've been through from the tinies, and I'm almost, I don't think you're ever at the end of the journey, but I'm almost at the end of the hands-on section.
Yeah.
You know, and
physical labor has become less.
yes, the physical labour has become, the mental labour is like, oh, but, you know, and it's such a journey as being a parent, and we always have to remember our journey, and our journey as a parent is the most joyful thing that we can do. But the end product is that our children are able to go off into the world as confident, wonderful human beings who are nice to other people and can use the skills that they've got. And that is our job as parents.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very well said.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you
coming.
so much.